Hi, sweetie. It's Daddy. Is Mommy near the phone? No, Daddy. She's upstairs in the bedroom with Uncle Jack. After a brief pause, Daddy asks, but, sweetie, you don't have an Uncle Jack. Oh, yes I do. He's upstairs with Mommy right now. A short pause follows. Okay then, here's what I need you to do. Put the phone down, run upstairs, knock on the bedroom door, and shout to Mommy that Daddy's car just pulled into the driveway. Okay, Daddy. 1 minute. A few minutes later, the little girl returns to the phone. I did it, Daddy. What happened, honey? Well, Mommy got really scared, jumped out of bed without any clothes on, and ran around screaming. Then she tripped over the rug, hit her head on the dresser, and now she's not moving. Oh my God. What about your Uncle Jack? He jumped out of bed without any clothes on too. He was scared and jumped out the back window into the swimming pool. But I think he didn't know you drained the water last week to clean it. He hit the bottom and I think he's dead. Long pause. Even longer pause. I'll share the punchline later. Anyway, this got me thinking, and somehow this story came to mind. And here it is. I earn more when I take on the long-haul trips since I get paid by the mile. If I were on the road more often, I could certainly make even more money. However, that opens up a whole other issue. The concern about me being gone too much as it is. I've tried explaining to her that if we could just hold out for another year, I might have a chance to transition into an inside position as a dispatcher and route planner. The pay for that job would be nearly the same as what I make doing long-distance driving, but the best part is that I'd be home every single night. It would be a big change for us, and I know it would give her more peace of mind, but for now, we have to make do with the situation. My name is Ethan Carter Thorne, and I've been married to my wonderful wife, Lillian, for over 8 years. Together, we have a 6-year-old daughter, Sophie, and we're hoping to have a son soon. We've been trying for a while, but it hasn't happened yet. We had initially planned for our children to be about 4 to 5 years apart, but things haven't gone according to plan. 2 years ago, Lillian stopped taking the birth control pills, and we started trying for a boy, but so far, we haven't been successful in conceiving again. It's been a bit of a struggle, but we're not giving up hope. We're trying to stay patient, even though it feels like it's taking longer than we expected. The idea of expanding our family and having a son is something we both really want, and we're doing everything we can to make it happen. While I was on a 3-day run to Corpus Christi, I decided to visit a doctor for a checkup. When I returned the following month for the results, he told me that I was very fertile and had no issues when it came to siring children. I also took the opportunity to have a DNA test done to confirm that my daughter, Sophie, was truly mine. It was a decision that weighed on me, but I felt the need to have the certainty. It gave me peace of mind, knowing the truth, and it also solidified my commitment to being there for her. I had a DNA test done on Sophie when she started school as part of the county health team's safety program for identification in case of emergencies like kidnapping, abduction, or death. One Thursday, when Lillian was at work, I copied Sophie's DNA chart and kept it with my work papers. Feeling suspicious, I decided to snoop around on our computer to see if I could find anything unusual. Websites, emails, anything out of place. After thoroughly checking, I found nothing. However, when I went through Lillian's drawers, I discovered a new box of birth control pills hidden under her old flannel gowns. The prescription was only a week old. This discovery unsettled me. I started to question what was really going on in our relationship. The birth control pills seemed like an indication of something being hidden, perhaps something Lillian wasn't willing to share. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more going on beneath the surface, and the thought that she might be hiding something from me made me uneasy. It seemed like I was constantly uncovering things that didn't add up, and I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets she might be keeping from me. I was furious, beyond words. I thought Lillian wanted another child, but it turns out she was still on birth control, making it clear she didn't want to have a baby. The bigger question now was whether she was avoiding pregnancy because she didn't want another child, or because she was cheating on me. I needed to figure that out first. If she wasn't cheating, then it was just a matter of her not wanting more kids, and she should have told me. Lately, the sex had become mechanical, frequent but lacking any real connection. For the past couple of months, it felt like it was all about her fulfilling my needs, but there was no intimacy. Afterward, she seemed uninterested in me, only caring when I returned from my trips. Something had changed, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more going on than she was letting on. I was determined to find out what, even if it meant uncovering painful truths. Lillian worked at a family-owned insurance agency that was a small but established business. She began her career as a receptionist and eventually became an agent. The agency operated out of a duplex home converted into an office and employed a small team of 7 agents, a receptionist, and an accountant. Initially, Lillian worked part-time until her daughter Sophie started school full-time. Afterward, she transitioned to a full-time role, working the same hours as Sophie's school schedule, including Saturday mornings, to complete her 40-hour workweek. Lillian's journey from receptionist to agent was a steady progression, and the job provided her with a balance of family time and professional growth. Her role allowed her to contribute significantly to the family's income while maintaining flexibility around Sophie's school schedule. The small, tight-knit agency became a second home for Lillian, where she formed meaningful relationships with colleagues who often felt more like family. Despite the demanding nature of her full-time hours, Lillian always ensured her family came first, but she also found a sense of pride and fulfillment in her work. I worked about 55 hours a week, when you counted my 10 hours on the road for each long run, and about 8 hours when I was at home running local halls. I was completely off 2 days a week, but they were Saturday and one other day. Sometimes it was Sunday, other times it might be any day of the week. We had a nice 4-bedroom, 2-story house with a fair-sized backyard, and we were saving for a pool and a sauna to be put in next year. We already had a hot tub on the back deck where I liked to relax with Lillian after Sophie went to bed, especially after a 3-day run. I went to college and got an electrical engineering degree. However, when I graduated, I couldn't find a job around here. A friend of my Uncle Ray's needed drivers. I drove for him during the summers, earning money for college and saving for a marriage. My 5 feet 11 inches, 190 pounds frame is quite muscular, since I do throw boxes and pallets around in my job. A lot of the places where I deliver don't have a full shipping and receiving department, so it's usually me and one other guy, loading and unloading my semi. Most places have either a forklift or pallet jack, and I also have 2 dollies on my truck. So, I'm not some dummy that can only drive truck. I just wanted to get that right out of the way, even if I still kinda write like I talk. We weren't what you would call rich, but we were doing all right, and I sure couldn't spring the cash for some PI to go snooping around. Besides, Lillian does the bill paying for us, and she would notice any expenditure for something like that. So I went down to my local electronic supply house and looked around for a few choice things that could help me find out if I was being cheated on. I got a phone tap that I could use on our landline, and the guy said he had something I really needed if I was spying on my wife. He had a small transmitter that I could put in her purse. It would transmit to a receiver in the house, and had a 5-mile radius if I added an antenna on top of the house for signal pickup. It would record onto a CD or DVD recorder. He said I could have everything in what they called their cheating spouse spy kit for under $200. I scrimped and saved on my meals on the road for the next week, and saved up the $200 for the kit. They did tell me that, for an extra $100, I could wire the bedroom for video and sound that would record to the same recorder. All the items were wireless, but I would need to change discs more often as the bugs were sound activated, and the video was motion activated. I told them I might be back next week for the cameras. I had to wait 3 days after my purchases, before my scheduled days off coincided with Lillian working and Sophie being in school. I had borrowed $100 from my boss, and he let me pay him back in installments at $25 a payday. That is, once he knew why I needed the money. I put the camera next to the mirror on her dresser that overlooked the bed. I added the receiver in the spare bedroom, or, as we'll call it, the junk room. I then cleaned the gutters out, installed the antenna, and checked everything out. The bedroom camera and the mic worked fantastically. The landline bug was perfect, and I put it on the answering machine in the office bedroom. Now I only needed to add the bug to Lillian's purse. I got instructions on how to track her whereabouts by her cell phone's GPS, and got that added to my cell phone. I was now set to see what happened. 2 weeks had gone by and nothing of interest showed up. I heard lots of conversations, and a few nights of Lillian sleeping when I wasn't at home, but no cheating. I guess I was out of luck in that regard. I guess it was that Lillian didn't want any more children. I was in San Angelo, spending the night and leaving early in the morning. I had too many hours on the road and really needed a good 10 hours of rest, but I could get away with 5 or 6. It was about 5:30 p.m. when I called home. Hello? Hi, honey. This is Daddy. Is Mommy near the phone? No, Daddy. She's upstairs in the bedroom with Uncle Jack. After a brief pause, I said, but, honey, you don't have an Uncle Jack. Oh yes I do, and he's upstairs in the room with Mommy right now. Brief pause. Okay, then, this is what I want you to do. Put the phone down on the table, run upstairs and knock on the bedroom door, and shout to Mommy that Daddy's truck just pulled into the driveway. Okay, Daddy, just a minute. A few minutes later the little girl came back to the phone. I did it, Daddy. What happened, honey? Well, Mommy got all scared, jumped out of bed with no clothes on, and ran around screaming. Then she tripped over the throw rug, hit her head on the dresser, and now she isn't moving at all. Oh my God. What about your Uncle Jack? He jumped out of the bed with no clothes on, too. He was all scared and jumped out of the back window and into the swimming pool. But I guess he didn't know that you took the water out last week to clean it. He hit the bottom of the pool, and I think he's dead. Long pause. Longer pause. Even longer pause. Then I said, swimming pool? I have asked to confirm the number. She replied, no, I think you have the wrong number. You should call the police, honey. I quickly closed my phone and sat down, heavily. Oh my God. I looked down at my cell phone and hit last number dialed. Well, there was one marriage that had ended, and the poor sap of a husband didn't even know I helped him out. So, I tried again. Hello? Hi, honey. This is Daddy. Is Mommy near the phone? No, Daddy. Mommy's not home yet. I'm kind of worried about her. She's normally home by now. I had to use the key by the garage to get in. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll call Mommy and get her home right away. That was very smart of you to remember about that key, honey. You just wait right there at home, and don't let anyone in but Mommy or Grandma. Okay, honey? Okay, Daddy, I love you. Are you coming home tonight? I'll be home as soon as I can, honey. You be a brave girl and do what Daddy said. Okay? Yes, Daddy. I hung up and looked for Lillian's location on my phone. According to this, she was at the office. So I called her office. Fletcher Insurance Agency, how may I help you? Said the receptionist, and I recognized the voice. This is Ethan Carter Thorne. Is Lillian there? If so, I really need to speak to her. It's kind of urgent. Of course, Ethan Carter. I think they're in conference with Samuel, the owner, but I'll buzz him. I was put on hold. Then a very breathless voice came on the phone. Ethan, what's so urgent? Has something happened to you? No, but there may be something happening to you shortly. What do you mean? Ethan, what about me? How could you just leave Sophie at home alone? She is very worried about you, and so am I. Why aren't you at home where you belong? We had a meeting, and it ran a little longer than it was supposed to. I'll hurry up here and rush home to Sophie. I'm so sorry about this, honey. I gotta go so I can get right home. While I was listening to her, I could hear some grunts and groans, and they were not coming from Lillian. Her voice sounded like she was trying to talk while being jostled, like she was getting screwed hard. The other thing was that there was more than one other voice in that room. Now I was really pissed. I called my mom, who lived in the same subdivision that we did, but about 3 blocks away. Mom, can you go over to the house and pick Sophie up? Lillian is working late, and I'm stuck in San Angelo. I have to wait another 5 hours before I can drive again. I want you to take Sophie and some clothes for her and keep her there. And Mom, don't let Lillian take her away from you. If necessary, go somewhere for at least a few hours, like maybe to the park over by the ball fields. Lillian would never look for you there. Take your cell phone so that I can call you. Ethan Carter Thorne. What is going on? And why all the rush? Mom, I think Lillian is cheating on me, and I know she left Sophie on her own. Sophie had to get the spare key to let herself into the house. I need her out of Lillian's hands until I can get home. I can't leave here for another 5 hours, and it will take me at least 4 to drive home. Please promise me that you will do as I ask. I'll call Sophie to let her know you are coming to get her. I'll do it, Ethan. But I want a damned good explanation when you get home. Bye, Mom. I love you too. I called Sophie back and explained that Mommy got held up at work. I told Sophie that she was going to stay at Grandma's tonight. I then called my lawyer and asked for a restraining order for my wife, since she left my daughter alone in our home to go screw her boss. I said I would probably have proof as soon as I could get home, but the big thing was the abandonment of a child of just 7 years of age from 3:30 until I called at 5:30. If she hadn't remembered the spare key by the garage's rear door, she would have been outside of a locked house with no parent. He already knew I was looking for evidence of Lillian cheating on me, so I was sure he would rush this. I turned my phone off and went inside the warehouse and called my boss on their phone. He said he would help Helen, my mother, with everything. He was almost as pissed at Lillian as I was. He had known our family for a long time, and he loved Sophie too. I did ask him if he thought I could still drive home tonight. He said I had to wait out my time, but that he would contact my mom and let her know to bring Sophie and herself over to his place tonight. Margaret, and he would look after both of them. My mom had divorced my dad 2 years ago due to his cheating on her, so I'm sure she could understand. I gave him my mom's cell number. I went over to the local La Quinta and got a room and tried to rest. I called my younger brother, Ryan Hayes, and told him what was going on and that I wanted him to keep an eye on my house. No problemo, bro. I'll get some of the guys together and make sure nothing happens. What number can I reach you at? I gave him the number for the motel and my room number, and he said he would be taking off shortly. Ryan was a member of a motorcycle club. No gang, just a club that did a lot of charity work, wore a patch and everything, but they were good people. I knew the homestead would be safe, And I knew he wouldn't let Lillian give him any shit about anything. She was totally afraid of him and his club members. Ryan got the height in the family, and I guess I got a lot of the brains. Ryan was 6 feet 4 inches and 240 pounds, with not an ounce of fat. He had a full beard and looked like he could snap your body in half. Well, maybe he could. He was a Marine for 4 years and got out because of the chicken shit way the military was run nowadays. Ryan was a year younger than my 31, and other than being taller and weighing more, we were like 2 peas in a pod. I was clean-shaven though, and we were both very fit. I tried to sleep again, but of course, sleep wouldn't come, so I took 2 sleeping tablets. I was out like a light inside a half hour. I woke up to the ringing of the motel phone 6 hours later. It was my wake-up call. I showered, got dressed, and headed out for home. It was just after 1 a.m. by now, and I was headed east for Georgetown. About an hour later, I finally turned my cell back on, but there are a lot of places on US 87 that have no cell service. I did have like 23 messages on my phone. I listened to the first 5, and all 5 were from Lillian. She wanted to know where Sophie was and why was I so pissed. Then I got the one where she had been served with the restraining order, and she was cussing up a storm. That's when I heard someone say she was going to the station. I called Ryan Hayes, and he told me about the police showing up about 20 minutes after Lillian got home at 7:15. She looked completely exhausted and worn out. Then the cops began searching the entire neighborhood, looking for Sophie. My mom had apparently locked my house back up and put the spare key back where it belonged. She even took Sophie's schoolbook bag so that it looked like Sophie had never come home. Then, about a half hour later, a deputy constable came driving up and served Lillian with the restraining order. Then all hell broke loose, and that's when the cops took Lillian down to the station. Everything had been quiet since then. Lillian still hadn't come home yet, but they were keeping watch. One of my neighbors had even invited Luke in for a Coke and cookies. Now that had to be a picture. Luke is like 6'3" at 300 pounds. He looks meaner than a junkyard dog on steroids, but he is one of the sweetest guys I know. If provoked, he could probably kill you 10 times over. It would take either a lot of pushing or the right button getting pushed, but then it'd be, Katie, bar the door. Mrs. Bennett was an older widow who lived 3 doors down and across the street from us. She is as sweet as can be. She apparently saw Luke hanging around her garage door watching our house. Ryan said she walked up to him bold as can be and asked what he was doing hanging around her house. She had a mop handle behind her back, and Ryan almost busted a gut trying not to laugh. Luke sheepishly told her he was watching my house for me because Lillian was being a bad girl. I guess she told him that he could see just fine from her front window, and he could have something cool to drink. He accepted and they went in the house, and that's where he stayed until Kevin came to relieve him. If this whole mess wasn't so heartbreaking, it would be a laugh riot. I pulled into the yard at 5:20 a.m. I backed the truck into my slot, locked it up, and headed home in my 10-year-old Toyota pickup. Lillian's 3-year-old Lexus was already in the drive. I signaled the guys that all was well, and I heard some cycles roar off. I went inside and the house was a shambles. Well, the downstairs was anyway. I went up to the spare room and removed the DVD and played it back on the computer. There was no activity on the camera, but I got some real interesting stuff on the audio from Lillian's purse. For the 2 days I was gone, she screwed at least 3 people. Samuel Fletcher, the boss, Victor Fletcher, his son, and Elliot Matthews, one of the agents. Then we got to yesterday afternoon, when they started about 2:30 and went nonstop to almost 7 p.m. Lillian had been done by those 3, a Max, and there was a Liam, too. Now they were not agents from the firm, so they had to be customers or something. I made a copy for my records and had the original ready to take to my lawyer when I heard the front door slam. Ethan Carter Thorne. Where the hell are you, and what the hell have you done with my daughter? I had just walked out of our bedroom when she topped the stairs with murder in her eyes. There you are, you scumsucker. Now where's my daughter? She was not here when I got home from work, and even the police can't find her. And what the hell is this restraining order thing you had me served with? Well, speak up, you chicken. First, Lillian Grace Thorne. I am divorcing your 304, but due to adultery, and I'm taking my daughter away from you. She is my daughter, and I have the DNA profile to prove it. I also have the proof that you have been cheating on me. I know that I called you at 5:30, and you didn't drag your cheating but back home until 7:15. Why does it take almost 2 hours to drive the 5 miles from work to home? I also have pictures on which you look like you had pulled a train before you came home. That would put my daughter out in the heat, with no parental supervision from 3:30 to 7:15. So, for almost 4 hours, my daughter was at risk to being molested, kidnapped, or killed. All because you couldn't keep your legs closed. So leave my house. Yes, that's right, my house. I had this house before you came into the marriage, and that precious prenup you insisted on will make sure you get nothing from the divorce except what you came in with. The clothes on your back, and that's all. Now leave before I have to throw your cheating, lying butt out of here. I'll have all your personal belongings boxed up and set in the garage. You can have a deputy constable come with you to pick it up in 2 days, and don't think that your sex buddies will be getting away scot-free, either. I'm working on their butts as we speak. So goodbye, 304. Have a lousy life. I started to walk away, then turned back and glared at her with an expression Ryan Hayes taught me. Lillian was staring at me and saw the look. She quickly turned around and left. It's been 6 months now. The divorce is final, and the suits are in the works. The Fletcher Insurance Agency is now closed for good. Lillian is looking for work, but who knows how long that will take in this economy. She got out with just what she brought into the marriage. Nothing. Her car was taken back, as it was leased by the agency. She had no family locally and no job. She left right after the final court date, and I haven't heard from her since. Because she was employed when I filed, she owes back child support. But with her being a woman, the courts won't pursue her like they would a man. So I struggle along. Mom watches Sophie after school until I get home from work. I got the dispatcher's job, and I make enough to support us. Maybe I will find a woman sometime later, and I can learn to love all over again. I know that Sophie needs a mother, but my mom fills the bill for right now. So that's my story. I hope I can find love someday. I am a little leery right now, but one can always hope for that bright future everyone dreams of. I read something funny in the newspaper a couple of days after the dreaded phone call home to Sophie that started this whole thing. It seems that not 10 blocks away from our home in another subdivision, a Jack Sanders was found dead sprawled naked in an empty swimming pool at his sister-in-law's home. 6-year-old minor child Sanders called the police shortly after receiving a strange phone call from someone who she thought was her daddy. Her mother, Clara Saunders, was found unconscious in her bedroom, also naked with a severe concussion. Henry Sanders was not home at the time and was informed of all this when police tracked him down in a hotel in Little Rock, Arkansas. He was there for a sales meeting with several clients of his company. Then a couple of weeks later I read in the classifieds the standard divorce notice in the legal section that he would no longer be responsible for any debts incurred by Clara Isabel Sanders, née Applewhite. So I guess that divorce was in the works too. I called the guy after I saw the notice in the classifieds and said that he should thank me as I was the one that had phoned his home inadvertently. Hello? Is this Henry Sanders? Yes. Henry, the first am the gentleman caller that started the whole thing with your brother and your wife. I was calling to talk to my daughter as I was on the road. I think that we have a lot in common. Was your wife screwing around with your brother too? No, she did her screwing around at work, but that's a story for around a few beers. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I hope that you will be getting custody of your daughter, as I will have custody of mine soon. Yes, my mother has her when I'm at work, but I think you're right, we need to meet sometime and have a few beers and tell our stories and maybe we can become friends. I really need some real friends right now. I thought that my brother was my best friend, but apparently he wasn't that good a friend or brother. I think I would like that, Henry. My name is Ethan Carter Thorne. Ethan Carter, it's Bill to you. How about that? Bill and Ethan are going to be friends. Well, to make a long story short in this concern, Bill and I are now friends, Emma and Sophie are friends too, but they have always been friends as they see each other in school. Our two moms take turns keeping the girls after school and things are maybe looking up. Bill has an older sister-in-law that is now divorced and is looking for a solid, non-cheating man to take care of her. I'm slowly thinking I might try out for the position. Bill found out his PA at work has had a crush on him for some time now, and he is pursuing that option too. I guess this may have worked out the better for both of us. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.